Good morning.
A minute. Almost.
This Bob, I'll read the moment of silence. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, welcome. Is February 17th. Absentee meeting of the Chatham Board of Elections. We have all board members present on the floor in person at the forum. All this meeting to order. First item up is to approve today's agenda, which all members have in front of them. Any discussion about items on the agenda? Anything anybody want to add? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll now move into the absentee mail ballot portion of the meeting. Erica and I came early today to do our spot counts. The overshot we actually was one at once instead of the maximum 50. And I'm going to give a report about what we found is fine. We reviewed one overseas ballot that had been transcribed by staff prior to our review. That ballot was in order. We then proceeded to review 3 absentee ballots that had photo ID exception forms, all of which were in order and was properly filled out, signed, witnessed, or otherwise notarized. In the section forms that all properly boxes checked, so that and signed, so that they were all in order. We then proceeded to review 17 absentee civilian ballots. They were all in order, all the IDs for proper accounted for. The total then was 1 plus 32 plus 17, which was total of 51 absentee ballots that were reviewed. Eric, do you have any comments about the process we went through?
No, it was bipartisan, we worked well, and I concur with the report, and recommend that those ballots.
Sorry, what was 33? 32 had for photo ID exception forms, many of which were
Were there, was 51 the total number of ballots featuring anymore?
there were 69.
69.
9 total ballots. So at the end of today, with 18 remaining right now, we should have 87 votes. So Erica has recommended that you that the ballots all be approved. So a second. All in favor? Aye. Lori? All right.
So we're going to do a rundown. So with ballot, we're on a few ballots. We're going to look for see if we can test ballot, what we ran into last time. And then there are markers to make copies. And then when the Republican and Democrat to duplicate those ballots, once we print them out, we will have a few. Would Frank and Lori like to participate? Okay, I'll have you duplicate. And,
If you have a bunch, you can have another. Duplicate sources.
and I believe, people feed into Saturday as well. So I need to Republican, one Republican, one Democrat. So we have that, Eric, are going to be these. So that's Bob, third. All right. All right, thank you.
Jace, do you want to check that?
Oh, yeah, you got to, make sure that we have that out in here.
The serial number should also be checked. That number should be 574-523.
Not yet. It's not open yet. Just need to-
574-523.
I'm opening.
That's which one you want, just that's it, you're in.
Well, that's without. Yeah.
Yeah. I will show it to the screen too. We'll keep starting.
Yeah, you know, you come back to the pay plot. You wonder what, Barbara may do or the right about dog food. Plus for competing. Yes. And we're going to get back. And when we start, so they can go in and start.
Try a different way. Try a different.
Although if you're lucky one. Give them the back.
Here it is what you're on. Well, in some cases.
Thank you.
That's the most.
Great. Makes sense. I would know. Haven't separated. It's a little late.
My choice.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Another one. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just stay.
I just need a voter history. Just need a voter history. That's $69.
Pass it.
Yeah.
Erica? Yeah, over vote here. So.
Got it. Go back. Get it. Morning return.
We are.
So this has got, that's no survey of 20,000. You got the personal. Pandora emergency. Putting the news number up here, we don't put the T.
No.
No. CID. And there's some, there's some more. So what was the your bank, just so you know, the female is now.
That's what.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, and then, the apartment is back.
Yeah, how much conditions they were paying terms of. Oh, the racing and now. That gets complicated. So.
Show it all in, right?
With the other one separated. That's
Now, still,
I can see over here.
but it's not clear the,
Okay. Want to make sure that the secrecy about not taken away from it. Oh, I see.
Did you see any of it, Marlene?
I can do that. I can do that.
No, I know, but.
And when you hold us on up. Yeah, so I don't know.
it's blurred.
It's blurry. Okay. When she brings the. Okay. Oh, she took it. Oh, she's. Involved.
This is what she was telling us, these are the same. Same value, just what. Let's just start with. So.
Yeah, not many were there. No. Six right there.
Yes. What is that?
This one's not a T, but it's.
Okay.
That's why it's. Okay, then it's the other two. One right here is kind of first and
So that's. Let's hope.
And let's go ahead and suspend.
That should be
87.
87.
Suspending.
The polls.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to, the regular part of it is public company. More. All right.
Just write the serial number of paper they have to.
I was sandwich.
Okay. I'll look at the picture.
87. Good. One's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there, yes.
It doesn't work for a left-handed.
Yeah.
7 reserves. Tragic.
So she'll have 18 at the start, right?
Yes.
And then it has 87 now.
Right there.
Board record reflected, the scanner reflects 87 past ballots. Well, can you suspend it or not to suspend?
It's already suspended.
That closes. And we're gonna have a, something that we're gonna sound for this, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I do have.
Hey, could I ask a question? It was hard for us to hear. Could you just summarize? I know we got to 87, but there were a lot of pieces.
So we had a total of 69 total absentee ballots that came in since the last meeting, one of which was overseas, 33 of which had photo ID exception forms in them, and then 17 which were absentee civilians. So, that's what we reviewed, and then there was, then the balance got us up to another 69, another 16 got us up to 69 ballots. When
87.
Well, I'm talking about what we did today. Okay, so there were total 69 ballots that were run through the scanner today. There were previously 18 on the machine from last week.
I got that part. It was this transcribing.
Oh, the transcribing,
So
so,
we can't say that out loud. We can't hear what's the
Are you talking about the process?
well,
Just the
Why
process.
do you do it?
There was the
there
paper
were
issue.
test ballots, that were sent out and they had to be, Marvin had to have drives, redone by our intercivic, and so we had to send out ballots before the drives came back. So those test ballots, when they're run through the machine, register as already counted, if you will. So that you can't cast them as votes. So they have to be transcribed on official paper so that they can process what it's doing. So that's what Frank and Lori were doing, transcribing ballots. And one of those got ripped when we were opening envelopes, and that had to be transcribed as well. So there were a total of 8 test ballots and 9 ripped ballots, so a total of 9 got transcribed.
And the way we knew that they were those ballots that needed transcription is because they had a T up in the corner of the ballot that told us it was a test ballot.
Okay, so the 18, the ones you had to do today, there were 9 of the special transcription. Then there were a few others that were just regular, either photo ID or exception.
Well, so
Those were included that they transcribed.
Right. So of the total of 69 today, there were 8 test ballots that got transcribed, 1 ripped ballot that got transcribed, and 1 overseas ballot that got transcribed.
One thing that might have been unclear is that you separated the photo exception ballots and you called them one thing and then you called CID ballots another thing. In fact, all of them were CID
Right.
absentee ballots, but some had used a photo exception ID rather than a photo ID.
Right, so that staff within the category are required to review every, on a spot check basis, every photo ID exception form that comes through. That's fine.
And just to follow up on this, so I've got 51 were reviewed. And I wrote down that 1 was overseas, 33 were absentees with photo ID exception forms. And 17 were civilians and they were all okay. That leaves 18 that weren't spot check.
Correct.
And the 18 were they photo ID exception, were they just
They were, they're regular ID, regular.
the regular ID and they all checked that, and that was done by staff, but. So that adds up to 1 plus 33 plus 17 plus 18 adds up to 69. Now,
You're correct.
so I'm gonna make a comment. I'm just sitting here looking at this arithmetic. We had 69, and then we had 33 with photo ID exception forms. It's almost half of the mail-in ballots with no photo ID. Almost half would be like 64. I mean, 34, wouldn't it? So a lot of people aren't sending in their photo ID copy. They're doing exception forms.
Well,
Most of them were banned.
most of them are facilities where the MAT teams went to assist.
They do exception forms there.
Yeah.
It's probably they don't have an ID, but they're in a facility.
I didn't know that. So they go to a facility and then So most of them are MATs? For the 33.
More than you thought.
Some of all these were really valid.
That we're signing. One that documents. Today's total, that's the total of absentee ballots that have come to the state. Okay. That concludes the absentee mail ballot portion of today's meeting. Moving into new business portion of the meeting. First item up is approval of the minutes from last Tuesday's meeting. I will note that there is one additional spelling change that we'll need to correct under other business, and which it's in the fourth line down, the second paragraph, changing last to last, LAST. And assuming that all the members have had a chance to review these minutes, so that they're mentioned to approve.
I'm moving to approve.
I'll second that. Any discussion, any further corrections to be made? It's good. Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you, everybody. Minutes for last Tuesday, February 10th meeting are approved. Moving into director's report. Daniel, are you reading off or is Chancellor reading off? Okay, all right.
All right, so campaign finance, I'm gonna start with that first. So the first quarter of the 2026 reports are due. These are for candidates that are on the ballot for this year. If they had exceeded over the threshold, which is $1,000. The deadline for these to be in office is February the 24th of this month. The next item on my report is voter registration statistics. So currently we have 63,980 registered voters in Chatham County. We, in the month of January, our office processed 727 new voter registrations. A significant portion of this was an increase of 17-year-olds who will turn 18 for the November election. And under North Carolina law, these individuals are eligible to vote in the primary election. So if you're unaware, if you are 17 but will be 18 before November 3rd, you can vote in the primary election. For the month of February, a little bit slower, we had 82 new registrations today. The voter registration deadline was February 6th. However, if you know someone who still needs to register to vote, they can vote early and with same day registration until February 28th, the last day of early voting. And our office will resume processing voter registrations following canvass on March 13th. List maintenance, in the month of February, we had 12 duplicates that were removed, 34 deceased voters were removed, and 1 felon was removed. We continue to maintain accuracy and integrity of the voter registration database. And we are going on to the next item, is budget update. So Pandora and myself met with our DIT team today, which is made up of the register of deeds, clerk to the commissioners, and also the tax department head. And this is where we talk about our expansion items that we want to bring forth to in front of the commissioners. As if you've been to our previous meetings, we are asking for party judge increased pay from $13.50 to $14.50 an hour. And we're also asking our temporary permanent temporary worker to become a permanent part-time position, and one new full-time elections program specialist. Since we are general government, we met with our team, and Jenny Williams, who is the tax department head, will lead our team and present our group's ranked expense and requests to the budget team of the county. Following the presentation, the budget team will score and rank the request for consideration to be brought forth to the commissioners. So some key dates for the budget: February 27th, all the budget needs to be keyed into Munis, which is our county database for tracking our budget. And so we will be working on that the next couple of weeks. Between March 4th and 18th, department meetings with our budget team. So we will be meeting with our budget team after March 13th. And once Canvas has convened, we'll meet with them. March 30th, we have a staff TIT ranking will be completed, so we will know where we rank after March 30th if we are going to get our expansion request. May 4th, the manager presents recommended budget to the commissioners. Between May 18th and 19th, there will be public hearings regarding the budget process. And May 21st, 22nd, and 27th is when the commissioners have their work sessions. And by June 30th, commissioners adopt the budget for the next fiscal year. And currently, the elections office has spent 53% of our fiscal year 26 budget. Out of $1 million, we have in our budget $1,292,000, and we have remaining $613,000. This majority of this cost will be applied to the March 3rd primary. Significant portion of that. So within the next few weeks, we'll be eating into our budget. It is also important to note that our postage, we've had a lot of mailings over the last few weeks and few months, that we, out of our $22,000 of our postage line item, we only have $1,000 remaining. But we have enough in our postage funds to meet the remaining fiscal year to get our absentee ballots out, even if we had a second primary. So we feel comfortable with that. And that is my budget report. I'm gonna hand it off to Pandora. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just interested in that big increase in 17-year-olds registering to vote. Do you know, were there campaigns in the high schools, or how did the word get out?
So the majority of this is community. So they want to go get their license, their permit.
Can I ask a question? Budget. I'm thinking black holes. We have unanticipated. We get bushwhacked with expenses. Second primary, we don't know if that's gonna happen or not. Any other black holes that we think of in the next 6 months to a year, or we'll get bushwhacked? So, how about legislation coming down from the General Assembly?
Well, we do have a black hole that Pandora had mentioned, so we're gonna have to do I think we'll talk more about this, but we have a temporary polling site change from West Dollar City. So we have to mail out cards to notify all the voters and do a press release on that. So that will, it makes signs of $2,000. Yeah.
Do we have to? Okay, you're gonna probably talk about that a little later.
Oh, well,
I guess.
yeah, it'll be Pandora.
You decide. No legislation anyone's aware of?
Nothing has came to our office. No news.
Okay. Unfunded mandates, so.
Okay, so I just want to start off with giving you some important dates and deadlines. Of course, today was the deadline to request an absentee ballot at 5 o'clock. And early voting is underway. Of course, it started on February 12th, goes through February 28th. Marvin, if I could get you to pull up those early voting certificates, I will show you. Not that. Frankly, up one, right in the middle. No.
Oh, this one? Sorry.
You got- okay. No, that's not it. It's the one that, did we not get one? The one you did,
Didn't give it to me.
the daily.
I think I can. Give me a minute. Should be here.
Okay, well, I'll move to the election day, and then we will come back to that. Election day, of course, is March 3rd, 2026, and of course, the voting starts at 6:30 AM and go to 7:30 PM. Of course, our canvas will be March the 13th at 11 AM. We'll come back. No, that's not it. That's the early voting.
I mean, you just continue with the schedule.
Oh, so first I want to talk a little bit about these unvalidated voters that the mailings were sent out, 241,000 letters that were sent out to all 100 counties. All, these are the people who received the letters, all the voters who did not have a validated driver's license number or last four digits of a social security number in their voter record. This includes voters who registered prior to the Help America Vote Act, who didn't provide a North Carolina driver's license number or the last four digits of their social security number when they were registering for the first time. Voters without a North Carolina driver's license or a last four of the social security, they will not be flagged in the poll booth. They'll get to vote regularly, but they will be presented with a piece of paper. They don't take the one that was mailed to them to complete at the polling place and to be brought back to us. Only the voters registered after HAVA was enacted will be flagged. So these are the ones that will be flagged in the poll booths. And they will have to do a provisional ballot. So the voters can return the letters that were mailed out to them at either, because some of them been bringing them to the early voting sites. They can return them there, or they can return them on election day. And they've been bringing them into the office, or they can mail them to our PO box, mail them back to the State Board of Elections. And currently we are processing them, or we can wait till after canvas to process them. But we're going ahead and process them now. So that's the gist of those letters. We've been bombarded with calls and also people coming into the office. So I think you got the people's attention. They are adhering to giving us that information.
And Dora, what are your numbers for those two groups?
We didn't have a list, I don't think. We may have had 600 in Chatham County that went out in this last week.
This is the group that is flagged from after HAVA was enacted.
Before.
So you think there were 600 in that? And what about the group after?
They were included in the other,
The first batch,
the first batch.
over 200. We'd have to get you those numbers, we'll have them right there.
We'll have to find them because they didn't give them to us plainly.
Yeah.
It's not clear how many voters we're talking about.
Yeah, it was 600 for this last group of letters. But the one before.
So the 241,000 letters, when did they go out?
2 days before the primary, so that.
Okay, so that was just the last batch. That
Yeah.
wasn't like a grand total. That just
Exactly.
went out again.
Exactly.
It's a lot.
It's hard to keep up with, to
Thank
be
you.
honest. You know, other stuff to keep up with. So a lot of our poll workers have been concerned, and we have too, about firearms at the voting sites on election day and here at our office. I asked for guidance from the North Carolina State Board of Elections, and this is just a little bit of what I've received about firearms at either one of the voting sites. It said, depending upon who owns the building, whether it's a private building or a public building, and what their policy is, how the weapon is carried, whether it's open or if it's concealed, who is holding the firearm, if it's the voter or the election official or other non-election official. Of course, you know, you cannot have firearms at schools or educational facility property, courthouses, or state or federal office buildings. Now, municipalities or counties may also regulate the display of firearms on public property. I did contact Sour City, PD, they do have an ordinance where you cannot carry weapons into the polls. Any weapons of any type. It was a long list of weapons, so you do have a sign on the door at that voting site, no guns. The county board could choose to regulate the carrying or possession of firearms by election officials, like our workers that are at the voting site, when administering an election at a voting site, by instructing them not to bring their firearms to the voting site where they are working. So even if firearms have not been restricted at a location, a chief judge can reasonably restrict a person's display of a firearm if they are using it in a way that violates the various laws and rules designed to promote order and protect voters where voting is being conducted, including laws against voter intimidation and election official intimidation. And of course, we have the reference of the numbered memo 2022-12. It gives more laid out information about how they're supposed to handle a firearm if brought in. Also, I asked the state board for guidance, should a federal law enforcement come around the voting site? It says federal law makes it a crime for armed federal law enforcement to be at any place where an election is being held. And this is what's that code?
That's 18 USC, which is US Code, Section 592.
Okay. And if the chief judge has credible report that federal law enforcement or someone who is presenting as a federal law enforcement is at or around their voting site, they should proceed as follows. Of course, they're supposed to call me, and the state gave me a direct number to call their state board senior investigator. And then the report should include where the voting site is, time of the occurrence, and description of the occurrence. Then the investigator can then conduct with their federal and state partners to assess the situation and further coordinate with the county or the town if needed. Now, Siler City Police Chief did tell me that anytime that ICE or federal agents are coming into North Carolina, they are supposed to let law enforcement know if they're going to be in their area. I don't know if that is going to happen, but he said that is the way it's supposed to be. They should be aware that they're in their town or if they're coming to the county. The county gave us guidance on if any should show up in any of our county offices. We do have that guidance. And Carolyn Miller, who just got promoted to deputy county manager, she said that they are getting ready to start looking at some type of policy for the county. We know they can't go into government buildings as far as putting up signage or anything. It's very great. So they can start looking at some, and then to see if they can adopt something where they know where we are voting at, to be able to say during election time, especially, like, have a sign that says no guns or whatever. That's been a great area for a long time.
Would public property, including with the parking lots, be part of the protected area? Or is it just?
You mean in the voting site?
Yeah, or is it just?
It's outside the 50-foot buffer. They can be out in the 50-foot buffer, but
Even though it's a public.
yeah. But if somebody is out there waving a gun or something and intimidate people with it, then of course the chief judge can ask them to either put the weapon away or ask them to leave the property, because the law says that they are supposed to maintain peace and good order around about the voting site. So for me, that includes all of them. Whether it's on the inside, outside, but no one is supposed to be inside of the voting enclosure other than the voters and the workers, observers. Anybody who's allowed to be in there, but if you're not in the act of voting, you shouldn't be in the voting enclosure unless you're assisting someone. Otherwise you should be in there. So they're not allowed to enter.
So I have a probing question and a comment. I think that when you started your discussion, you mentioned private property versus public property. And you know how I feel about public property and voting sites. So we're getting ready to approve today a private site, and your emergency site, that we're moving from a public voting site to a private voting site. When we get that private voting site, does it become public jurisdiction and public property and all these firearm rules you've been talking about? Does it comply with
If they don't,
public?
No, but the owner of the property can drive its own policy. However, this is also in Siler City, there's an ordinance that says at this point that you can't have a firearm in a polling place. So notwithstanding what the private property owner policy might be, the ordinance is going to govern kind of
The city council, city.
and it's in the town.
right.
It's
So
in the
town
town.
ordinance.
Okay.
It's in the town. And that's all I had for my report. Yes.
So the next item is this resolution about the polling place
Yeah.
change. Do either of you want to talk to us about the circumstances that have given rise to the use?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
So what happened, of course, most of you know that West Side City votes at the, Aging Services Building, the Active Center for Active Living in Siler City. And right now, we knew that, the center was gonna be going under some, construction. But as of November of last year, after voting was over, they assured us that the building would be available for us to vote in the primary. But, obviously, when they got in there, they must have realized that there was more, damage that was worse off than what they thought. We just found out when our chief judge went there to get his, information to set up, and they told him, we went over there and the building is like not usable at all. But we were not notified. So, we had to act very fast to try to find another place. We sent letters to them too, but we never got a response back. We always send letters out prior to voting, so they'll know that we are gonna use the building. But anyway, it's not ready for us to use, so, again, contacted Carolyn Miller, and she gave us this place and a contact person to see if we could use it. So the voting will be now at, the Village Lake Inn. I think the Boys and Girls Club has, has this building now. I think it might have been gifted to them, but nobody has occupied this building in a year. So, the building was inspected today and it passed inspection. They had an issue during the storm with the ice and the pipe busted, the water pipes busted. So that has not been repaired, so water's not in the building, but we can use it. We have, the bathrooms, EOC is gonna supply us the trailer with the 2 restrooms and also a laboratory, and they're gonna rent a ADA accessible porta john. So, they will have, use the bathrooms and some running water in those things. We're gonna have to get the building thoroughly clean. Parks gotta be clean, windows and dusty. We're getting somebody to do that. Also, we have to repair the emergency light. But we will be in the center of the building. The 2 ends will be shut off. Nobody can go from those buildings. So that's what we have right now. We will notify the voters by mailing out the postcards with the press release. We'll also have it on the radio there. We will also, the big electronic signs. We're gonna take one and put it up there where, the site is right across from where the agent service. We'll put the sign here and then turn left, go into that, in that space. There it is right there. That's the center. Drag it down a little bit more. Up the other way. Up, okay, right there. And that's where it's at. And the board has the authority to do this. They don't need approval from the state board of elections. But I will send the information to them to make them.
You checked out the electrical situation, there's no problem there.
They did all the inspections. Yeah, and it passed.
Will the Center for Active Living be available for a second primary?
We don't know about, we really wasn't too concerned about second primary. We were trying to get through this one and we want to make sure it's ready for November. I'm not sure if it'll be ready for second primary. Hopefully we won't have a second primary, but we will ask to see. Not, we'll have to find somewhere else.
Well, we'll be scrambling at the last minute if it's not available.
Well,
You might want to ask the question now.
I'm pretty sure we'll be able to use the Village Lake, no one's using it after the inspection, which is good for, I think, a year now, so.
Go
we'll
right
be
back
able
there.
to-
Questions, comments? Normally we would read the resolution first and then have discussion afterwards, but we're in the middle of discussion, so. Karen, you put questions, comments, Eric? Nothing. So we have a resolution here that I'm going to read. And assuming that we approve this, I will sign it and it will be made public and to the executive state board. So It's posted up on screen so y'all can read it out, but it's a resolution to move the election day polling place from the ND 85 West Siler City precinct for the March 3rd, 2026 primary election. So on today's date, this board met and meeting and is going to adopt presumably the following resolution. Whereas the current voting location for the West Siler City precinct covering Chatham County Aging Services Post Brent not available for voting in the primary election on March 3rd, 2026 due to major renovations. Whereas the Village Lake Inn is located in the West Siler City precinct in close proximity to the Chatham County Aging Services location. And whereas board staff has not found any other suitable voting location within the precinct. And whereas North Carolina General Statute Section 163-128 provides that the County Board of Elections shall have the power from time to time to establish, alter, discontinue, or create such new election precincts or voting places as it may deem expedient. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the board hereby unanimously approve the Village Lake Inn having a street address at 219 Village Lake Road, Siler City, North Carolina, 27344 as the election day polling place for the 85 West Siler City precinct. Resolve further that the board chair is hereby authorized and directed to sign and transmit this resolution to the State Board of Elections this the 17th day of February 2026. Yes, sir.
Either the full number of the new location is in the precinct, right?
Well, actually, both of those precincts are in, well, both buildings are in East South City precinct.
Yeah, so there apparently aren't a whole lot of choices.
Not in West Siler.
Well,
For a second. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed? Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to proceed to item number 4, which is to adopt the early voting plan for a potential second primary. The television now, collected the managed early voting would start in mid-April, correct? Or start, right?
I think election day would be, May the 12th. Yes.
So, and Pandora and Chance, can you give us a little background about what we've done historically with second primaries and early voting locations?
For second primary, because the turnout is so low, now in 2024, we have second primary, which was a Republican primary. For early voting, we had 260 people vote out of the whole, 168 people voted out of the whole early voting. Which we had, one site at the Ag Center, which was in lieu of site for the Board of Elections office, because we don't vote here. And we just had regular office hours for that site. And we were closed on the weekends, all but the last Saturday, which is required to be open by state. So this has been the norm for us, when we have a second primary, we only have one site open, early voting, and of course, on election day, we have all 18 precincts.
So we used Ag Center again because there was a second primary in 2022 in the midterm, correct?
And the turnout was very low, 2.something%, I think, for the whole election. So we don't know if there's going to be a second primary in this. It just depends on how many votes that somebody gets in a race that, has more than 2 candidates.
So I guess it's a combination of low turnout, but also just paying attention to collecting the logistics of conducting early voting. And it doesn't seem to me that there's any reason to gain citizen contemplate screening early voting for a second primary. Right.
Yeah, question. Let's go from early voting to election day, which I think you mentioned was May 12th. Was election day in 2024, 200 people, you got 18 precincts happening.
That was in 2024 was the same. It was just a Republican, second primary.
On election day.
Yeah, the whole time for that election, for the second primary was just the Republicans.
But the 268 you gave it was at 2 weeks of early
That
voting.
was early vote.
So not many people voted.
Right,
And then my election day was a low turnout.
some,
I mean, you're expecting similar.
yes.
So the proposal is one
This is the-
voting site, which would be the Ag Center. And this office would not be open or available for the Ag Center, the spot all kind of stuff.
Those are the time, dates and hours. Of the site. Of course, we have to be open on that last Saturday.
People would still be able to vote by mail.
Yes.
So is it just 1 week of early voting?
No,
Or
it's
second
the whole,
primary?
it's the whole time. It's just doesn't have weekends except for the last Saturday.
So 12 days. Because you have 2 days of the, yeah, it's 12 days.
13,
The Saturday.
13 days.
So did we could get a copy of that? Oh, that's election. No, that's early voting.
It's early
That's
voting.
it's over voting.
So the second.
It's on the second primary. Hadn't been approved, so it's not going out anywhere until, I think the state still has to approve it. And of course, well, I'll let y'all get through this. But again, these are the totals for early voting now.
So we have a motion to approve that early voting plan for submission to the state board. Move we approve the early voting for the second round. I'll second. All in favor? Thank you, everybody.
Because these are the stats for early voting now by the day for each site.
What's the numbers in orange on the right?
Is it just
It's
percentage?
just the percentage of voters that show
The
the stuff.
percentage of the total registered voters for that day.
For that day.
Based on the
Total down there.
No,
total?
all, like, how many registered voters, all
Mhm.
that's registered and voted. So we've only had, was it
You only had 2.5% turnout so far, and that's through yesterday at 7.
Is the CACC, is that the Ag Center?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Just scroll up. Get to that line, Steve.
These are totals.
And this is gonna be posted on our website. Per Lori's request. This is something we have to keep up daily, so we have to make sure we put it on there.
Further questions or comments, observations before we adjourn? Anyone else would like to adjourn?
I'll make a move to adjourn.
I can decide.
Okay.
Second. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
did everybody sign the, sign
Talking about that. Just like.